तो इसमें भी रिकॉर्ड कर लेते हैं, ठीक है? Okay, Sonia. So our recording has started, live bhi hai. So thank you very much for being part of the symposium. It's really nice to have you. Pakistan ka whatever the history, current situation, whatever you want to take us through, totally doubts your situation. I'm out of it. Whenever you want me in, you can call me.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's an honor that you asked me to speak here. And I think it's brilliant what you're doing. I'm so happy that I can contribute even a little bit to this. So primarily what I have in mind is that I would like to talk about generally how you could say the change started in Pakistan with regards to mediation, and then how it progressed. And then I'm going to talk about how it stands today and what are the problems that we see and how possibly, because obviously I can't be sure, but there are things that we feel, that I feel personally, it's my perspective primarily, can be done to make that change. So maybe I'll just start off with the historical aspect. So if at any point, Vikram, you need to ask me any question, please just let me know. All right. I'll try to be as articulate as possible. But if there's something which you feel is not clear, please do let me.
At the end of it, I will definitely ask you questions, but at the end of the whole thing.
All right, perfect. Okay, so you could say that it hasn't been that long that we really got into this. The very first step which was taken with reference to mediation was in 2003. Even in India, in fact, all over the Indian subcontinent, a lot of changes were made in the Civil Procedure Code. But I'll speak for Pakistan. So in 2003, the first change with reference to mediation, actually for ADR, was made in the Code of Civil Procedure 1908 in Pakistan. And primarily what it said was that it just talked about the fact that, in case the court feels that the matter should be referred to ADR, it should do so with the consent of the parties. So it's a very brief and short thing which was added. And they tried to add more detail in it, but it wasn't really very specific. It wasn't really highlighting anything. So what we were left with was that, yes, somebody has talked about it. And it was, the background behind it was the Asian Development Bank, which refused to disperse loans to these countries because it wanted to encourage contract enforcement. And primarily, that was the reason why it was even added as an amendment in the CPC. So that is the first stage. But at this point, no one knew what ADR is, what to do about it. It's like something is there and nobody was using it. So that you could say was the first stage. And then we did not have mediators at that point. Moving on, if you look at the very first time that a training was introduced in Pakistan, was 3 years after that, and that's in 2006. So that's the point training was started, and that too in a very limited, you could say, part. So Karachi, if I talk about, so Pakistan has, for those who are not aware, 4 provinces primarily, and Karachi is part of Singh. That is one province in which I can say that if at any, this is the province in which mediation has some footing at least. So for the rest of the provinces, we're badly lagging behind. I am from Punjab, I live in Lahore, and we have legislation for almost every province except Balochistan. We have proper ADR acts for each province, but sadly they are lacking. But when I talk about Karachi, I think it is safe to say that in Karachi, there has been a lot of development, and over the years, again, I'll just continue with what I was saying, that section 89A was added in 2003, and then that was used to introduce trainings in 2006 in Karachi. And there wasn't a lot of, you could say, momentum which took place. The actual momentum really took place in the last few years. And Karachi, we had started earlier, but in Punjab, etc., it has really, it would be very safe to say in the last 2-3 years, the change has come about. But even this change is very limited, and I would like to now come to the current situation. I hope it is clear that, we really had nothing in the start, and then we started from this small change, and then we moved on, and now we have legislation. So I will identify. In Punjab, there was a Punjab Alternate Dispute Resolution Act passed in 2019. In Sindh, it was passed in 2018. In Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, 2020. These are relatively recent pieces of legislation. And in Balochistan, we're still waiting for a proper piece of legislation. Now, when you look at these acts, primarily they're very similar. And what they do is they identify the need for ADR, they identify that it is important, but it is left to the courts. It's not seen as a separate thing, it's not seen as a separate profession. And sadly, I will just take the case of Punjab now. I would like to talk a bit about that. So when we look at Punjab, what is happening here is that mediation is taking place at a certain level, but retired judges, senior lawyers, those people are, in charge of that. That's not necessarily a bad thing as long as they understand what mediation is. But the sad part is that they don't. They do not have any training in mediation. They do not understand the concept of mediation, and they, impose what they feel in their view is mediation. That's one problem. So people who are practicing mediation are not even trained. That's the first problem. The second problem when I refer to the legislation is that the legislation does not even tell us who a mediator is. The legislation does not, there's no, you could say, assurance. The people don't even know what mediation is, how beneficial it can be. So I think the correct word that I want to use is awareness. There is no awareness at all with reference to the public regarding the benefits of mediation. There was an example, Vikram, which you gave earlier in our informal discussion that we had yesterday, the pudding example. She said, unless you taste it, you don't know what it's like, right? So they don't even know what mediation is like. Why would they even resort to? So they go to court with a dispute. The court says, we think you should go for mediation first and then tell us if it fails, we will see what to do. Now, the parties are not too interested. First, they don't know who to go to. Where do they go? The court has said go to a mediator. Who is the mediator? Where should they go? Who is going to identify that for them? That's one problem. Secondly, even if they do go to mediation, they are not even aware of what mediation is. They are not very positive about it. They are not even looking for it. It's like, a tick mark that they have to do before their case can continue, instead of an active solution for what they should pursue instead of the court case. And that is something which I feel at this point, more than anything, we need to change the culture in our country. Unless and until we change the culture, unless and until there is awareness and people know what mediation means, we can't really bring them there. So we have this legislation, it is not being implemented. It has so many things in it. It can't be implemented, and it's not really effective as well because people who have made it do not even understand the importance of mediation. If they don't understand the importance of mediation, how can they draft a piece of legislation and expect it to be implemented? So I hope I'm not dragging this too much, but primarily I feel that awareness is a big issue when it comes to lack of, mediation in Pakistan. There is mediation, it's very limited, very, very limited. So I'll move on now, and I'll talk a bit about the Sindh Act. And I'll be comparing it a little bit with Punjab because I need to show why the Sindh Act is better than the Punjab Act. So the Sindh Act primarily, the title is basically it's an amendment. Instead of a separate act, they have made an amendment to the Code of Civil Procedure. All right, and they passed it in 2018. And the best part about this is that they have recognized who an ADR specialist can be. And in ADR, they do talk about mediation as well. So they have identified what kind of training is needed in order for you to be recognized. And what this means is that, one thing that I often, and it's something I have also faced, is that you are interested in mediation, you have that kind of mindset, you feel that this is something that should be a part of society, you want to bring about that kind of change. And you go in that field, you get your trainings, you do everything. And then you want to utilize it, but nobody's recognizing it. No, you don't know where you fit in because nobody recognizes a 40-hour training. You're there, you have that training. What do you do with that training? So the good part about the Sindh Amendment is that they identify that in order to be a mediator, and I'm going to read this way, persons who have undergone a minimum of 40 hours skills-based training in mediation and or conciliation and having accredited as mediators or conciliators by a reputable organization or institution. So they are recognizing this as a separate category. And this is the only act which recognizes it. So if you look at the rules made under the Punjab Act, identifying who can be a mediator, they talk about a doctor, they talk about a lawyer, they talk about an engineer, that if they have this much experience, they can do this. But nobody says if you've taken this training and are actually skilled and have taken the training and have taken time to be a mediator, you can also, try and understand these issues and sort them out. So I see that as a problem because that discourages people from entering into the field because they know that even if we are from a different profession, we can be mediators. We don't need to be trained. That is a problem because then they're not able to differentiate. There's a lot of confusion between the different forms of ADR, which is a very big problem that we face in our system. And arbitration has taken a strong hold in Pakistan. Arbitration is very widely used here. But I can't say the same for mediation. And I think there's a lot of confusion. Whenever we refer to ADR, people generally tend to think it refers to arbitration, though that is not the only thing it refers to. Mediation is a very separate and a very, we could say, soft aspect of resolving disputes. So I hope this identifies why Sindh, the legislation in Sindh is a little bit better than that in Punjab. Having said this, even over there, it's not that well entrenched. And for that, I will go to my next point, which is basically, I think, if I were to think about why this is so, there are people who are interested in mediation. There are people who are doing trainings. We have different bodies now. We have the Pakistan Mediation Association, but it is only based in Karachi. We have the ADR initiative, only based in Lahore. Okay. So we have different bodies now who are interested in ADR and mediation as a part of it, but we do not have any central body which is regulating mediation or recognizing mediators as a separate profession. If you look at doctors, we have the PMDC in Pakistan. If you look at lawyers, we have the Pakistan Bar Council. If you look at mediators, they're nowhere. There is no body regulating them. And I think it's very important, and that's a target that I have. I don't know how we're going to achieve it, but I'm going to do my best to raise awareness, change the culture as best as I can to bring mediation as a comfortable part in our society so that we can eventually have a body which will regulate it. And if we have a body which is regulating it, it will be easier to resort to it because there is already a body which is regulating it, which is identifying it. The problem is that it's a very severe problem, and I think possibly it is a very common problem which everybody who is in mediation would face, that mediation is seen as a field which is somewhat going against lawyers, for example. So it's almost like you're taking away their work because you've chosen to refer people to mediation, even though that is not the actual case. So if you look at the situation in Pakistan, 1.7 million cases are pending at the moment. They can very easily be directed to mediation. But the problem is that even when they are directed to mediation, because mediation, it's not like it's not there. It is there, but it's not being used the way it should be. Even there, the very people who refer it, are the people who would probably not want it to work, which is a very sad, situation. But that's, I don't want to talk too much about it, but that is something which is a serious issue, I think. That, the very people who we expect would help us with it are the ones who are, bringing a lot of disfavor to it. There was this center, and I'll just look at the exact name. I think it was the Karachi Dispute Resolution Center. I just want to make sure I got the name correct. If you could give me a second. Yeah, Karachi Dispute Resolution Center. It was built in 2012. Very, very proper state-of-the-art center built for this purpose, and it was expected that it would do great. And we still have the page on Facebook and everywhere. And right after it was made, a bunch of lawyers came and burnt it down. They literally burnt it down. They couldn't stand it being there because they could see it as a, apart from, that's my assumption. That's what I don't have, any proof that this is what happened, but that is the assumption that we reached, that they saw it as a threat to their livelihood, and that I know we can't have it. It was literally burnt down. So there is a lot of what do we learn from that? That we can't be very radical. We can't suddenly impose mediation on everyone. That that's it, and you need to do it. So we have to take it slow. But awareness, changing of culture, I think that is something which is integral, which is very important if we are really sincere to this cause, and if we really want to ensure that mediation is here to stay. In light of that, so now I'll move on to the last bit of my presentation that I had. So in light of that, I feel that we need to focus on the youth. We need to focus on the younger, like the student body. And I would say we should, and definitely, and I am sure everybody is in harmony with that, it should not be obviously limited to the legal profession. It's a separate thing. It is a separate profession. It should be seen as a separate profession and dealt with accordingly. But we need to start at grassroots level. So if somebody has completed their degree and after that we're telling them, look, this is mediation and it's great and this is what you should do and you should, now, or you already have, for example, for a lawyer, you've already, ingrained an adversarial mindset in that person while teaching him the law, talking about cases. But, we should start way before that. If not well before that, at least before they have done their, degree, which identifies who they are. At that point, still they're soft, they're willing to listen, they're willing to make up their mind. Once they have done a professional degree, once they have completed a degree, they have already made up their mind about things. So I feel it is important that parallel to their studies, they should be educated on what mediation is. So those who feel that it is something worthy of pursuing can pursue it as a profession. So as I mentioned earlier as well, actually only to you, Vikram, I didn't mention in this discussion that I recently opened my own law school, the International College for Legal Studies. And over here, we have an ADR center. And we are one of the first few institutions who have an ADR center. So in Pakistan, if you look at the institutions for students, be they law schools, be they other fields, they do not have an ADR center. So for me, that's a first. So that's one thing we have done. And especially in Lahore, the way things are, and all over Pakistan, actually, if one law school does something, the other is bound to follow suit. Because it's like, oh my God, they have this thing, we need to have that too. Everybody's going to go after that type thing. So they might do it out of competition, but the good part is that if somebody has introduced something good, that means it's going to follow suit. Other people are going to do that as well because they want to provide the same kind of experience to their students as well. So that is one plus, and I hope that will make a change. And in that ADR center, at the moment, there are a lot of international competitions that are taking place for mediation. We are training people, I am training people to be a part of those competitions so that they can be more familiar with the concept of mediation. That is the best we can do. We can only make them familiar with these concepts, help them understand what they are. Then the decision is theirs. It's up to them. If they feel this is a cause worth pursuing, they will automatically find ways and do something. But I think the responsibility is on us to at least show it to them at the right point, rather than at a point when it's too late for them to make a difference. So primarily, this is, I hope it gives you an idea of what mediation is like in Pakistan. Vikram bhai, are there any questions that you have or anything you would like to?
Look, only little serious aspect of the whole thing is that somewhere in between the bhai got lost. Suddenly, at one point, it did become Vikram. That was the only serious part of the whole
Oh my
thing.
God. I, I did not realize that. I did not realize
But the
that.
interesting thing was that you started off with the Civil Procedure Code and specifically 1908, which is exactly what we have. We have this British legacy, which we have taken and we are not being able to do 2021. And we have a Civil Procedure Code of 1908. And then we talk about the whole concept of clogging of the judicial system and the backlog and all that. So I think, I mean, I'm telling you from my perspective, how I'm looking at in India, and I am very, very vocal about this, that the courts themselves are not being able to give justice. Let's just say they're denying justice, because 20 years, if a person has to stay in courts, what kind of justice is that? So there is an issue there. And on top of that, they would, the whole concept of the whatever, amend the Civil Procedure Code, come out with a new one. Those are the things they should be looking at. So in terms of the mediation and the connection with courts, I have a big problem with that. Big problem. I'm saying they're, like you said very rightly, they're totally different parts. I mean, mediation is totally different from arbitration. People are confused with arbitration also. Everyone talks about. So I think this whole thing, putting them under this whole ADR thing, people are, I think, that confused there. But tell me, there is no specific law, because India adopted the conciliation under their Arbitration and Conciliation Act. We've done that. So that is what we call today as private mediation. So that is what we have, that provision. So some similar thing did not come up in Pakistan.
We don't have any separate provision for mediation.
Okay,
So we
conciliation.
just, yeah, for mediation.
Oh, so do you have something on conciliation?
Not a separate provision.
Okay.
The most prominent legislation is the one that I have identified. And this one, when it came, it was expected that, these laws are going to be really, transformative. But their content is very limited. They're very short, and that's fine as long as it explains everything. But they don't really identify much for, the general
Yeah.
public.
Well, what I'm saying is that that aspect of what in the court system and Civil Procedure Code and all, that part of it, any case, is a problem. So we have to, because the courts are interested in just reducing their backlog. So they will send things out for mediation. But the problem is that, first of all, this is universal. Whatever you said
Yeah,
is a
agree.
universal issue. Universal issue.
Agree.
Now, court system, the mediators are getting nothing. So obviously, no one is looking at it as a profession. You have to
Pakistan
develop.
also, no one is used to paying somebody per hour for their services. So it's like a lump sum agreement they reach when they go to their lawyer. They're not paid per hour. So for a mediator, if you have a meeting, and that's a very important meeting after whatever you decide, the entire mediation process, but it has to be, paid on a basis
Exactly.
of hours. That is something which is, very alien in Pakistan. That is also a problem. So for anybody
Look,
who even chooses to go to this profession, they're going to suffer financially, initially at least, till they
exactly.
manage to change
Exactly.
the culture. Because nobody is really, it's not developed. It's not really developed. You only have your passion and the strive to, bring about this change with you only.
Yeah. But
Financially, you're your own, I think.
no, the way I have gone about it is that I've told people, you try it, whatever you feel you want to pay. At the end of the day, we are not committing on any fee, but you, please, it's not free. It's not coming free to you. And you'll be very surprised. They're very fair on that, because once you help someone settle a dispute, they actually, because look, point is, it is otherwise who will break this chicken and the egg situation? They don't know about it. They will never try it. If you don't get a break, people will not try it. How will the word spread? So I've tried it in that sense, and I'm okay with this whole thing of how much. I mean, this whole hourly and all. I'm okay that whatever. Because problem is that this is a different kind of profession where you should. I mean, I'm saying even for lawyers, it's not supposed could not was not supposed to be as commercial as it has become. So I don't want that the direction that mediation should go, because I am telling you that there is so much work out there, but it's just a matter of people trying it out. It's all about trying it out. And so that is why I think what you said very importantly is the developing of that culture of mediation. I think that is what needs to be done. So how are you looking? How do you think that should happen in Pakistan? How would you?
So, like I said, I just talked about the fact that I think we should target the younger people, the
Yeah.
younger generation. I think primarily that is how we can go about it. We can train them as best as possible. We can, take them to different competitions. And I think ourselves as well, we should be examples.
Yeah.
We should be a part of this change as well. We should show that this is something important and we should use it wherever we can, rather than just, rushing to litigation or things like that.
Yeah.
Or even in normal disputes, we should resort to mediation.
So
One small ray of hope in Pakistan, which has recently come, is we have recently passed the Commercial Courts Ordinance in 2021, and that is primarily targeted at commercial cases, and these are like separate courts for it. Again, this is the court system, I know, but the point is that it will only have commercial cases in it. And with commercial cases, there is this hope that maybe mediation might find its place because they might be more willing to engage into mediation. Arbitration can be very expensive, can be very time consuming as well, particularly for commercial entities. So mediation could be a possible solution. It is very soon for any of us to comment on
well,
whether this will actually happen,
no, I'll tell
but
you,
I
we
do
got.
really hope.
Yeah. No,
Sorry?
we also got a Commercial Courts Act, and the whole thing about before you file a case in court, a commercial case, you have to go for mediation in the sense that a notice has to be sent to the other party, and the party can refuse. Not an issue. I mean, they can refuse. But the problem is that the concept. I mean, Pakistan should learn from it. I mean, from how I am looking at it, even if the parties want to do it, there is a particular authority where whoever wants to be part of the panel can become a part of the panel. What their process is, I also don't know, because I were not even interested. For me, anything connected with that kind of system, and try to stay away from. But the point is, at the end of the day, a schedule has been put for fees. If you look at that fees, I mean, it's amazing that how do they think that mediators do not have houses to run or something? I mean, you can't even believe the kind of. I mean, I
That is
would.
a problem.
I won't tell you because Pakistani rupees you can convert in according to me it's 2.2 rupees for every Indian rupee, but at the maximum, I mean, this could be like say a crore and above cases. They will get something like 35,000 rupees if the matter settles. If the matter settles. Imagine that's like what 17,000 rupees for Pakistan rupees or something like that. And that is, I'm saying, at the highest level. At the bottom level, it's so nominal that at the end of the day, and if it doesn't settle, they get something like what 2,500 or 3,000, something like that. So I think the way they're structuring it, the concept is that okay, you must go for mediation before you come to the courts. Damn good. But beyond that, why are you interfering it? Let people develop their own. But have a different thought process than you on this aspect. According to me, that natural ability is something that people already have. They're already doing it in schools also. I keep talking about this, that they are actually doing mediation as the way it should be done. They know how to do it. They've got the relationship, they've got the trust going, and everything happening. Same thing in communities. So all we have to do is that the people who are doing it, let's bring them out. And rightly you said, let's start from the schools. Let's bring these people out, take them forward as a profession. But then what do you show them on the other end? You will show them lawyers on the one end and other doctors on the one end, charging whatever they can. And then they'll see the mediator. He gets nothing. He says, look, I don't want to do charity right now. I can, maybe when I'm 70 years old, I can do it. Right now, I want to run a house and do everything. So that we have to show them.
But I think the most important thing in all of this is what you are doing right now. You're talking about it, you're having this conversation, and you are adding to the awareness. I think this is one of the most important things that you can do. Talk about it. The more we talk about it, the more people are going to understand it. The more they understand it, the more they're going to be likely to try it and be like, So I
But
think, yes,
Sonia, you have to do
definitely.
the same thing. You
I
have to do
am
this.
sitting with
See,
you. I am talking
not
about
just
it.
with me. Now
Thanks to
you,
you.
now you have to
Thanks to
have
you.
further conversations. Now you have
No,
to have those
definitely,
conversations, because you're
definitely.
right there. You're right, absolutely right. We just have to start talking about it, because it is something which is there. It's part of culture. Because that part you haven't touched on, with how traditionally, whether in villages, what the such situation is. Because I'll tell you very, very Sonia, I'm very clear that we have such a large rural population. Pakistan, India, subcontinent, everywhere. Now that population, first of all, a lot of them can't even afford going to court. That's one aspect.
No.
Then in their own system, there's a social structure and everything. So as part of that, I think we have to start developing that traditional structure and how that can be created in a manner where people get that whole I mean, then into that process, they don't move away from it, because according to me, it's still happening there. They haven't moved away, because I'm telling you, because we've gone through now 70 speakers already, and I've seen this all over the world, that because from the rural to urban, that shift that happened, that has affected dispute resolution, where collaborative aspect has gone. A lot of people say that we become individualistic society. I feel that we are using the wrong word. We become selfish societies. Individualistic is only to be polite, or just to say nice things about, you don't want to say selfish. We become selfish societies. So let that not happen in countries like ours, where that rural population is still there, and there is, like I said, a social structure is still there. So from my side, I can tell you this conciliation that we have, it is very basic process laid out, everything very nicely laid out. And at the end of the day, the person or the parties, that settlement agreement is as good as a court decree. So imagine sitting in a village, if you can get a court decree in your hand, what better can they have? And you've hit it spot on, that the lawyers themselves are, according to me, threatened. It's never, we've had it since 1996. 25 years, no one has spoken about it. People don't know about it, or they feign ignorance. I won't say, but they don't talk about it. 25 years, you have a law. Can you have people being more empowered than that? That in city or village you can get a court decree. But again, but another part which we have to discuss, which I've discussed with everyone, we've looked at colonization. That colonization and the court structure that we've got, that has affected dispute resolution definitely. And today also, there is this whole concept that courts is where the dispute resolution is going to happen. And up till
That's
now,
true.
everything court dispute resolution happens in your house, in your community all the time. Courts come in and should not come in actually, because if they're denying justice, why would you go to them? But we have, so I think that part of it, again, this is universal. All colonized places have this issue today. They have that whole, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure the same thing happens in Pakistan. Here
And another
people,
small example that I have, that in our family law cases, somebody files for a divorce, there are 90 days which are given to the parties to mediate, and they have to report to the union council who is supposed to mediate between them. So ideally, this is a very good thing. The legislation is there, but when you look at what's happening in practice they just sit for 90 days, wait for their time period to pass, and then they move on with the proceedings. So those 90 valuable days are there for mediation, and nobody uses them because nobody really knows what to do. What is mediation to date, despite all the legislation which talks about mediation? Okay, we also, I feel we should have a separate act on mediation as well. We don't have anything identifying mediation as a separate thing. But even if we have ATR, at least it can be more detailed. We could, and I think more than that, before all of this legislation, we need to have a central body. I don't know. Does India have a central body?
I'm there is a discussion. There's a mediation bill which is going to come into parliament, and there are people who want to regulate. I am totally of a different school of thought. I am saying that you must understand the scale of this. The scale is that we have 1.3 billion people. In those 1.3 billion, you can imagine how many mediators you need. So just the fact that you say that you will decide who that mediator is going to be, which means you will finally talk about training. Now, who are those trainers? Are they accredited? Can you get at least, look, I'm saying at least 1 million mediators is a minimum thing. I'm saying you need more than that maybe, but 1 million mediators you need out there. these people will, whoever that trainer, you'll identify 2 people, 3 people in this country, but otherwise, okay, there'll be mediator, the people outside. But do they have that capability to train, and do the people need that training? I am saying that natural ability has to be brought out, that this is a very different profession. This is something that comes, why is it that in a family, that there is that one person or that one elder that people go to, whom they feel will help them resolve their dispute? They don't go to everyone. They've identified the person. I mean, we've spoken about it in other sessions in the symposium, that in a family, I mean, in say, I mean, with like Olisola from Nigeria, she was talking about the situation that there are lots of marriages a man can do. So in the law became a large family, supposing he had 4 wives and they had each had 5 children. So now you have a large family, but in that also they identified whom they had to go to. So it is not that everyone can do mediation. So I am saying what is happening today is whoever can go for training, get a certification, becomes a mediator. But does the person have that natural ability? Maybe not. So what is going to happen? The user experience is not going to be good. If the user experience is not good, definitely they're not going to talk about it. They talk about it negatively. And when someone says a negative thing, and then there aren't 5 people who say a positive thing, that negative becomes the rule then. So that, yeah.
So scared of disagreeing with you.
No, no, I'll tell you the
I
situation.
agree with your point, but my only concern is, and when I look at, maybe my perspective is different because I'm sitting in a different culture, perhaps. So over here, when I look around, I feel if there is no central body, if there is no training, people are not even going to take it seriously. Who are you? Why will you mediate? Type thing. So
No,
I do get your point. I understand and I agree with it, but I feel that can come at a later stage. We need to have a central body first. We need to have trainings, and then we can further refine it. And then, then
I will make
maybe if
sure.
it becomes
I will make sure I will keep discussing this with you. I'll tell you why.
oh
Very
God,
clear.
maybe
And
I have said something ignorant.
no,
I'm
no, no,
comparatively
no.
new to
This is not you.
mediation.
This is not
But
you. People.
personally, this is what I feel. Because
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I look around, that's what I see. I see people not being aware, people not being able to find that authenticity, which, if they go to a lawyer, the person is registered with the Pakistan Bar Council, they have their license, okay, fine. They are safe. That's what comes in their mind. When I see, the people around me, if somebody comes to me, it is very important for them to know that I am a licensed lawyer. But that's not the case with a mediator. I feel that if they feel that a mediator, is recognized by a body which they recognize as, I don't know. That's what I
Okay.
feel.
Well, now I'll give you the larger picture that I'm looking at. Why did I do this
I
symposium?
like your picture, but I just feel that
No,
I don't know how we can implement it here. I
I'm going
just
to get it
fail
there.
to
I'm
understand.
going to explain to you and make you understand for my side, and I hope I can convince you also. My attempt
So
is just to put on my thoughts, to not try to convince you, just putting my thoughts out. The idea was behind the symposium that this is, if you saw the theme, what did I say? That people might not know the word mediation, but that process is something they're familiar with. And where did I get the process and that definition from? I said I pick it up from the Singapore Convention, because today, at least, if there are 55 countries who have signed it, then in principle, they have accepted that definition. Although it is for international commercial mediation, but a definition has come out. Up till now, the definition wasn't there. So no one did not even know the mediation, conciliation, conciliation is not mediation. But if you look at the definition, they put it in such a broad manner that, but whatever name you give it, however the process is done, main thing is a third party is assisting parties to resolve their disputes and doesn't have the authority to impose a decision. That's how simple it is. So people, I mean, I'm saying this is also we need to, of course, get into, and which I'm seeing in a lot of situations, that there are people who actually are trying to help the parties resolve, but they actually are telling them what to do. Traditionally also, it's not as clear as this, that they are just sitting there and helping them, and they make the decision. There are elders in the family or in the community who actually tell them what to do. So that's not mediation. We have to distinguish that aspect, definitely. But what came out very interestingly from this person from Israel, David Shimoni, that I told you when we were discussing this, that traditional and
yes,
modern, that hybrid model and that co-mediation he's talking about, I found that very interesting, that if that traditional method has some recognition in the sense that there's a trust in that person, and then you bring in a person who can in some way take care of the power imbalances or that voice that the one person might not have in the traditional system, maybe we can take it from there. Because I'm saying that today, if obviously we have our discussions sitting and you're sitting in Lahore, I'm sitting in Delhi, large cities, there's a different way we are looking at it. But just consider that if we have 60% rural population, any body that you make, you're actually what are you doing? You're telling people that you cannot even help someone resolve their dispute up till you don't go to that body. That means families system gone, community system gone. In one stroke, we are just suddenly going to put a fear in people's mind. Oh, can I even mediate this? Can I even talk about it?
Fair enough.
In one
Okay,
second,
sure.
we will put a fear in them. And the point is that whatever was happening, look, we have India has a major backlog. Okay, there are 4.43 million cases lying in courts, and backlog is just
Mm.
increasing. What I have, how I'm looking at it is that even that we have 18 million cases filed every year, and in a country like the US, that model that people in the world talk about, they've had it for 40, 45 years, mediation in the formal structure and everything. Today, 100 million cases are filed there in a population of 300 million, which would be 400 million for India. We would be finished. No concept. Today, we are denying justice. What are we going to do after that? So that model didn't work there. I don't know for what reason people feel that US model and all. The point is that you, like you said, the lawyers are threatened. There, the lawyers have control of the system. So what is happening if 100 million cases are filed? That means that much work has come to the lawyers. Then they take the parties into mediation, so they get their fees out of that. The lawyer is interested in getting their fees. Once the fees is taken care of, very nicely they will promote that, and in the court system their mediator gets about nothing. So such a nice system, party pays nothing for the mediator, lawyers make their money, very nice system going. We can't have that duplicated in any other place, and people for some reason think we'll follow that model. So I think we need to, how I'm looking at Sonia, and you are on the same pathway and the same thought process. It's just that I have to take you away from this regulation part of it, because I'm just showing you the scale. That's
I
it.
just don't understand. I'm sorry, maybe I don't fully understand your model. I don't understand the essence of it, I would say. But I feel that, if there were no body, there were no trainings, people would not see it as a profession. And if they don't see it as a profession, they're not going to be paid for it. Who's going to pay them?
Look, we have
They'll
to
be like, oh, thank you for your services. How nice of you.
look. No, I told you that
I
this
don't
is,
see
yeah.
how.
No, I am telling you how will happen.
Maybe
How do
over time it will, maybe, but
look?
initially, I think.
Look, how I'm looking at it again is that there is such a large demand which is can be created. You have to create a demand. So to create that
Yeah,
demand, yes, it is like promotion. We are doing whatever sales, promotion, marketing activity. So my way has been and has really worked is just try it out. Just try it out. That's it. And let's see how it goes. And if you can actually do it and they actually benefit from it, they are going to tell people, so your promotion is going to happen automatically. They are going to do it for you. So, and you will be, they once they taste that, I'm telling you, they're not going anywhere else. So for sure.
I
But
do get your point. I
but
do
what
understand, and I think it's far better than what I'm saying. I was just trying to understand how it would be
but
actually used.
what I'm still saying, that which you also have to do with me and work with me on this, is that I told you about that peacemakers collective and peacemakers that we need. Because what is
Yes.
happening is, you spoke about awareness. I am saying that you might send out, maybe in the media, every media, you might say mediation is a very good thing. What is mediation? Someone helps you resolve the disputes. They'll say, no, what is new about it? Point is to use it. They know about it. So I am saying that we have these peacemakers going out, telling them about mediation, that this you should try it, but the person also has to get the parties together to agree to go in for mediation. Where are the mediators? So they have
Mhm.
to go into communities and villages and identify those people and say, okay, these are people who are already trusted. User experience is guaranteed because someone already trusts them. So user experience guaranteed. So now this person just puts them together and then makes the mediator understand that this is a profession. Because I'm telling you very clearly, it's a natural ability. People don't value it themselves. How will someone else value it? It is like you coming to me and we sit together on a word, not even on a table. we sit on a sofa, we sit on a under a tree, in a restaurant, anywhere we can do it. It's such an informal process. In that conversation, the person will be able to help them resolve their dispute, and might take only 10 minutes. That is what natural ability is. And if the person is going to do it in that manner, he doesn't even think he's done something. This is, yeah, what did I do? I was just having a conversation with them. This is what I do. So how does he think that's a profession? So we have to tell them, look, this what you're doing is a very valuable service, and people are going to, even they would want to pay. Don't even, because the people with that mindset, which I call mediator mindset, are not commercial. Okay, they don't look at things, you don't think look at things commercially. I can, I mean, how much do I know you? We've just met once, we've just spoken once, but I know, and that is why I called you in, because I know you have that mindset. So you're not going to be that commercial kind of person, but you still have a house to run. You have to take care. Your daughter's growing up, she needs a lot of things. So I'm saying that because we are like that, in a way we've been taken advantage of. I have not been taken advantage of so much, because I understand that there is a service, and I, of course, was doing it as part of my practice, and now I'm doing it only as a mediator. But as my part of my practice, that was the mindset. How can I help my clients get into a situation where they can resolve their disputes? I have been, say, in an arbitration. Okay, I am for one person. I have a client. I'm a lawyer there, but I've made sure that the parties, they resolve that dispute, and the other party trusts the other. I mean, this is arbitration happening, but the other person trusts me so much that I am doing the mediation for them. So I am saying that that part of it comes from within. Now, if you are going to be greedy, then there is no end to it. How then?
No, but I get your perspective. I understand now that you've given me so much detail, and I think that's great. And I really hope we can reach a point where we are able to do that.
We will. With one thing, let me tell you, Sonia, very clearly, whenever you talk to me, and you be part of whatever I do, no negatives are going to be said. It is only going to be positive. It will happen. We will do it. Look, it might
Inshallah.
take time.
Inshallah.
It might take time. I'm not saying that we are going to do it in 2 months, suddenly we'll change the world.
No, it will take time.
Yeah, let's
Of course,
keep a
it will
target. Let's say,
take
okay,
time. But I think as in when I look at it, I feel it's about being persistent, and we should keep on trying. And inshallah, we will change it.
but I am saying that let's not try this route, that let us regulate the profession that doesn't exist. How are you going to regulate it? Like you said, judges, in every, this is happening everywhere. Whatever you are saying is exactly true for any place. The moment
Mhm.
judges are going to see, first of all, today retired judges in India are becoming arbitrators, and they're getting huge fees. People have got frustrated with that. Even
Even
uh,
Pakistan,
even our
exactly the
own,
same.
yeah, even our own Supreme Court, there was some, I think I don't know, exactly, I didn't read the entire thing. I read part of it, that they want younger people to become arbitrators, because people are now frustrated with this whole huge fees that these retired judges are charging. So they want younger people to come in and start becoming arbitrators. But that's, I mean, for me, I just use the word arbitrator. For me, we are not going to mention arbitration or arbitrators or the court system. It just drags you into that conversation, while there is so much work on the other end, and it's a totally, like I said, it's a totally diametrically opposite concept of dispute resolution. So we should take it from that, and I'm telling you, there is so much work, and the positivity that you create around it. The adversarial system is not going to create any positivity. At the end of the day, whatever a person goes through, he doesn't come out happy. He's spent 20 years of his life there, and 20 years, I'm saying, still it might be less. People might have spent more. So if that case, I mean, this, the whole process, first of all, the way it's conducted, and the formal aspect of it, that also needs to be changed. In mediation also, that whole, even you said mediation competition, there is a certain model which is being given to these children, and that formal way of going about mediation is not going to work. The scale that we are talking about, scale is, for me, let's start from the villages and the communities everywhere, and let's identify these people there, so you can understand, in a village, are you going to do it the same way the mediation competition is conducted? It's not going to happen. So why not give them the larger picture, that mediation is not all about this. This is a very, very, I mean, you can't even imagine how small a part of mediation in the world it is. This part that is told to these children and what they go through. The mediation has to happen. The 60%, you're about 210 million. No, how many million people? What is the population of it? 216 or something? 215 million is the population. If 215 million is the population, can you imagine? And out of that 60%, if it's in the rural areas, that many people, how are you ever going to get that many mediators to do that? And how will you regulate them? What qualification will you put on a person who has that trust with the parties, who's actually doing it there? So you're going to say, no, you stop this process, which might be the only process which is working. That's the only process that's working. The whole thing of qualifying lawyers and the whole thing of them enrolling in the bar and everything, what has it led to? Here it's led to 43 million cases lying in courts. At the end of the day, I always keep saying this. I mean, you'll hear this so many times in the symposium, that on one end, the courts are talking about mediation. So let it be free. It's like a kind of free to the parties. They are saying that the profession doesn't develop. On the other end, you are talking about lawyers charging whatever they can. So all I said was one example. I said, let's do this. In the courts, let's have a because you want to touch mediation, have a mediation center, have a litigation center. Whatever you pay to the mediator, the lawyer can't charge more than that in that litigation center. And nothing, I mean, the kind of, say some courts here in India, they get something like, I think the one particular court, they get $100 if that thing is successful. Okay. So I'm saying even for lawyers, it should be, if they're practicing in court for a matter, they should not get more than $100. You will see they will burn down everything. The lawyers, you said, burn down a mediation center. They do everything. They on the road, they'll be doing that, because they have, like you said rightly, in that sense, obviously they've got together. They made these associations and everything. They have a voice, and they have a very aggressive voice. And on the other end, mediators are nice people. They think, okay, it doesn't matter, whatever's happening, let it happen. So they don't get together. This conversation doesn't happen. They don't fight it. But how can you actually finish off a profession? So today, worldwide, this is happening. The court system is finishing off the profession. Again, I give you the US example, and I keep repeating that if people are not going straight away to a mediator, and they are going to a lawyer and going through the court, there has to be a fundamental problem in the way it's practiced. In 45 years, if that user experience hasn't been good enough, that people are saying, no, you don't need to go to the courts, you try out mediation straight away. If they are not doing it, that model doesn't work. Do we want that kind of model in our country? That you get a 1/3 of the population, in terms of numbers, that many number of cases filed in courts? Do we want that kind of system coming up? So and I'm telling you, this mediation in that sense can take off in one day if lawyers find out how they can make money out of it. That's that way. Suddenly, in the US model, if the lawyers are making their money, if it happens in our, they'll all say, mediation, everything. So right now, obviously, they haven't gone that route, and I'm happy that they don't even touch it. So being a lawyer, I'm saying that yes, we do have a role to play in dispute resolution in certain things and an advisory aspect. But in a mediation, again, you did talk about people from all professions. I'm saying they should come from everywhere. There are different kinds of matters. So a lawyer is like a service provider. When I want legal advice in the mediation, I can ask the lawyer to come in and tell me what the situation is. But otherwise, everything is not about the legal thing. That's what we keep telling the parties. You have to move away from that. So if you're telling them to move away from it, and then you say a lawyer should be the one doing the mediation, then how are they moving away from it? So get a lawyer. If there's say a project, a construction project, get an architect. I'm saying the architect can do it, do the mediation. If the architect is not doing it, someone else is doing it. Get an architect in. When you legal part, get the lawyer in. If there's a financial aspect of it, large mediations happen, a lot of financial aspect. Get a chartered accountant in. Why do we start thinking that the lawyers, because they have legal knowledge, they are the ones who should be doing mediation? I think the concept of mediation maybe is not really understood. I think that part of it, that awareness, like you said, needs to be also spread, that what is the process. If you're not sticking to your positions and you're not fighting a case in court, But people don't know that. I'm telling you again, this has been done. I've done it earlier. I had this meeting of the Mediators Collective many months back, and all we asked people was, why is it not taken off? And they said, first of all, people are confusing arbitration and mediation majorly everywhere. So if they, I mean, right now we had a Delhi International Arbitration Center created, and in that, what is it going to do? Arbitration, mediation, conciliation. I mean, just keep them separately. What was the problem in a Delhi International Mediation Center separately? So we're merging these two a lot.
So in our legislation, sorry, it just reminded me of something. So in the legislation that is usually drafted with reference to ADR in Pakistan, so if you look at the end of the legislation, there is a note which identifies why the legislation was passed. And in that, they very clearly say that we already have had this system reflected in our panchayat and jirgas already, and now we are, continuing it. It seems like a very limited statement to make, a very lack of clarity on what you're talking about when you are referring to ADR. And ADR also, their mediation is a part of it, conciliation is a part of it. So equating it with these things, the panchayat and jirgas really doesn't make a lot of sense. So I feel there is a lot of confusion over here about what we are looking at when we talk about mediation.
So I think the panchayat part, again, I've been talking about this because very nicely we say that the panchayat is an example of mediation. If you actually go into the villages and ask them, they say the panchayat gives a decision. In Hindi, what we say, panchayat ka faisla. Now that is in movies also.
Yeah.
They say that. Now, what is a villager going to understand when you go to tell them that a mediator does what the panchayat does? He'll immediately say another person has come to give a decision for us. How will you go? Why is the person going to try the process? I'll go to court then. Why am I coming? Why who are you to give me a decision? So we are confusing them in that sense. Let us understand what the ground reality is, how people understand it, what they understand of a process. Don't forget the word mediation, about a process where they are the ones who make the decision. So we have to talk to them, and from that end, that is this a process that you're using within your families, within your communities? Is there some example? Are there some people who helped you do it? And this is the way it's going to be taken forward. I mean, how I'm taking it forward. We have to start that conversation with those people. Right now, I'm doing this with the mediators, the symposium. Now the whole focus is on the user, and that was the grassroots level, which means in the schools and the communities and villages, which I'm not going to be able to do it everywhere. So you have to be part of that, and you will create
Definitely.
a network of people who will then create a network of people. The multi-level marketing, Amway, I'm sure Amway is in Pakistan. That multi-level marketing, you get more people into it, and that chain happens, and you create that chain. That why, if we can sell a product by that, why can't we take mediation to the world like that? So I've been saying it very simply. I'm saying, look, I just need those 1,000 people whom I feel have the mediator mindset, and they want to promote it and take it to the world. And those people get 1,000 people with them to start with. So we have 1 million mediators with people with the mediator mindset who, according to me, they really have the passion to do it. Let's just bring them together. And then these peacemakers we will develop on one side. They will go out and they will do the work, and they will be supporting you, and you will be supporting them. And that will be a good collaboration. How I'm looking at it. Let's see how it pans out. I mean, I've already
Sure,
started
it
that
will turn
process.
out very well because there are so many individuals who are a part of this already. And these are only the individuals who are on this symposium. I'm sure there are many others who are willing to be a part of this change. So I'm
Sonia,
very
you
hopeful,
have
and I'm
to.
going to do my best to carry
Yes,
this forward. For
yes, you're
me,
going
it's
to be.
about I have to play my part
Yeah,
persistently.
exactly. I'm telling you that you will see the difference. It's not going to be, like I said, let's not be impatient. We can't be impatient in this because obviously it's taken a long time. The colonial mindset, the psyche, that the courts are I don't know. Look, as I was saying that in Pakistan, I don't know how the lawyers are addressing the court. Here they're saying, my lord. That the British went away 75 years ago. My lord, sitting up there on
Your
that
honor,
pedestal.
your honor, you use
You,
your honor.
what here is the thing is, in the lower courts they say your honor, and we say,
Mhm.
I mean, I obviously have been part of that system. I've also said it,
The
because the
same, it's
problem
the same.
problem is that
Same
the whole
system.
system is such that you feel maybe the is the judge going to get offended because everyone is saying it, why is this guy not saying it? So
See, actually, India and Pakistan, we share the same system. We have the same roots, right? So we're following the same traditions, and it's very difficult to break away from them because we're so entrenched into them, sadly.
and this, no, I'm telling you, this colonial system of the courts and everything, every colony is going through this. That whole psyche has changed obviously you get conditioned that the courts are the place to go to. If there is a dispute, go to court. It's not that way. First sit together, try to settle the thing. You have to, that's the way. Again, now this is where the traditional thing, we have to retain it, because the moment that whole urbanization on a large scale has happened, that problem has happened in all those countries. So either in those countries, their justice system is so good that they deliver fast. So in Germany, like this Chuck from, based in Germany. He's from Israel, but now he's based in Germany. So he was comparing between Israel and Germany. So Germany, the justice system is fast. They get the orders very fast. So mediation is not really developed there. So either you do that, you create a very good thing. People, I mean, what is fast, first of all? For a person who is innocent and is sitting in jail, is 1 hour fast, 1 day fast, 1 year fast, 10 year? I mean, how do you decide fast? It has to be, I'm saying, the next moment. How can you put someone behind bars, take away his freedom? That this is a colonial concept. Is put him inside bar, we'll see what to do. It doesn't work. That's why we have these procedure code, the criminal procedure codes and everything and all those things, because how do you create that system around it that you can in some way keep a person inside? For what reason will you keep him inside when you can't give him justice? For 1 hour also, I'm saying, for any judge in the High Court, Supreme Court, I'm saying, if you are behind bars for 1 day also, is that acceptable to you? And this person, I don't know about again Pakistan, but in India, there have been people who have been in jail for longer than what they would have been if they were convicted on day one.
Sentenced.
Day one.
No.
I mean, imagine if you had a 3 year, if you maximum in that, you could have got 3 year imprisonment and you are still there for 5 years. There must be something very serious in the judicial system. So how do we take away someone's basic fundamental right so easily? And when we can't give him that justice. So I am saying that people have to understand this whole concept of denial of justice and everything, that they have to take it on their own. And that psyche, to change the psyche, I think we have to hit there. That look, this has happened all those years because that was a colony. The British themselves don't have that procedure code. They are not functioning in the same way. Get out of it, change your mindset. So I think it's not just a culture of mediation, that whole mindset towards dispute resolution and saying, oh, courts, we have to go to courts, are the only place. So even mediation which is happening, courts will do it. We'll have it in the courts.
No, you're right. The mindset has to be changed. Definitely, it's not just the culture.
So
You're right.
a lot of stuff that has to be done, and Sonia is going to do it, and you will guide us on how to do it. But I'll tell you one interesting thing that I have thought of, that people, of course, this whole ADR thing when the civil procedure code was made, so that when the matter comes up, in our case, there was a particular Supreme Court decision which actually interpreted the civil procedure code, the section 89. We also got section 89. Okay, we also
Yeah.
got section
We
89.
have section 89.
Yeah, here also the same thing. Now the problem was the way it was drafted. The Supreme Court felt it was wrongly drafted. There seems to be one problem. One sentence was here, it's gone somewhere else. So they interpreted that section. So at the end of the day, they said that some matters like family matters should go for mediation immediately because relationships get spoiled. Other matters should go after pleadings are complete. So can you imagine pleadings? What kind of allegations and counter allegations would be created? Where, what kind of status will that relationship be on? So first of all, that delay, you can understand that. So the way the whole structure was made, or was the giving a choice to the parties that you can go. I don't know. You will have to tell us how it is in Pakistan. Here it was.
Yes, it's the
We,
same.
yeah. So we
It's
have.
a, if the parties agree, the court may refer it to mediation.
Yeah. So we have the party are supposed to be given an option of mediation, conciliation, or arbitration, or we have something called the Lok Adalat. So that's also a thing. It's a system of where there is a like a presiding officer is appointed, and again the
Mm.
same thing. Ask the parties that you want to settle it, and how whatever works with them with that, and then again that whatever the that person presiding officer, they agree with it. He passes the kind of, I mean, I would call it an order. It's like a court decree then. So it goes in that manner. So their choices were given. So here the point is that those choices, actually a mediation choice, I would understand is damn good, should be given. But in the court, not in the court system, let it happen privately. Let them go to people who they want to go to. They appoint the mediator. And if they can't do it, there's a problem in the way society is structured. If those people are not out there whom they can trust, and okay, how do they find them? The whole structure will
In
be created.
Pakistan, sorry to cut you short, but in Pakistan, they are supposed to find a mediator themselves. If they can't, the court will guide them.
Yeah.
So
So
I
exactly same
understand
thing.
from what you are saying that it's okay, it's the same thing. All right.
No, but what has
Okay.
happened is that is the choice they always have. Parties will always have the choice. But if they can't do it, yes,
Yeah.
there are mediation centers where the mediators are appointed for you. So that obviously is an issue there. But okay, if there is no people, no person they can find, obviously. So then whom will they find? Yes, that is definitely an issue. Whom do they find? Where are they going to find? Where is the mediator? They don't even know who a mediator is. So why am I doing this? Those shows that I do, that let people know who mediators are. Let them hear them. They actually are special people, wonderful people. People should know them. So if I'm doing this, you will also do that. You will also have this YouTube channel when you will talk to people whom you think have the mediator mindset. So suddenly we'll have those people out there. That's how it's going to happen. I've done about, I think, 20 of evolution of a mediator, 20 of in conversation with a beautiful mind. At least 40 people I've put, more than 40. Some of them they've been two people. So about 40 people if I put up there, plus about almost 100 on this symposium. So
Yeah.
similarly, if all those people, like I said, all those 1,000 people start putting out in last 6 months, I would have put 100. If you put 1,000 people, put out 100 people also, so you have 100,000 people out there that people can find out about. We'll put those videos out. We'll circulate them, small clips, whatever. So this process we have to be able to start. And look, I started it.
No,
I'm
you're
do,
right.
I'm doing it for
We
you. I'm
have to
doing it for you,
continue
Sonia.
this
It's only for you.
conversation.
This is happening for you. So this has to be taken forward, and all of us have to take it forward. So I think, look, point is this discussion we will definitely continue. So I think we've kind of discussed what is a problem all over the world, and I think we all understand that. So I think we'll just take it from there. So any last words? Your last words.
I just hope that, it's very clear what the situation in Pakistan is like. And after having discussed with you and generally as well, I realized that we all have the same problems. And the best way is to collectively work and persistently create awareness. I think at this point, especially in Pakistan, I think it's just about creating a lot of awareness, educating people on what mediation is so that they can resort to it when they need to. But I would like to also add that I'm very happy that I talked to you because you really added to my knowledge as well. You talked about your perspective. And, I constantly talked about having a body, and I was very rigid about having a system and all. And yes, that's a point that I still have in my mind. But when I look at what you are saying, I feel that's very helpful, and that's actually very true. And mediation is happening all over, everywhere. Most people don't even know that they're mediating. And that is something we need to recognize. We need to understand, and we need to help them understand what a big role they can play in changing other people's lives. So that is something I am taking with me from this, which is new for me and which is added to what I already had in my mind. And I think this is the entire point of having these conversations. We exchange ideas, we exchange views, we learn from each other so that collectively we can build a picture which is in the best interest of everyone and then take it forward for society. So yeah, that's about it. I don't
And
really
very
have
happy.
anything else
What I'm
to
very
say.
happy about is in that whole last word, twice you use the word collectively. That's why I have mediators collective and peacemakers collective. We have to work collectively, and that's the way it's going to happen. So thank you very much. It was lovely talking to you, and definitely we'll continue these conversations, and things will change. Things will happen for the best. So let's just do it.